Representative Kirkby for showing DIA the respect of coming. I'm sorry there's not more people here, but Representative Kirkby, I do have a question for you, which is, early on you put your face and your name in the campaign literature for initiative number 10, the Clean and Open Government Law, and it's my understanding that you no longer support that. I'd like to know why you endorsed it then and why you no longer support it now.
That is an excellent question, and I appreciate that. I was approached during the session, basically right when Hal Weck's bill went down in flames and did not survive the veto of the governor, even though we overwhelmingly overrode it in the House. It's lack of research on myself, in complete honesty, about endorsing and promoting this open government law. Who wouldn't? I mean, who doesn't think that the government should be open and honest and posted and having government contracts and not allowing specifically the governor's blue badges on our tax dollars to overwhelmingly come down and lobby on behalf of the governor. After I did mature and actually did look at the whole entire initiative, I took a progressive step backwards and said, this is just absolutely too much. Specifically, the terminology that is drafted in that initiative, using words that I can assure you South Dakotans would not use. There's some pretty ocky words in there. Not illegal, not slanderous, but terminology that we would not really want to be published on forever history in the state of South Dakota. But what it boils down to is the government handouts, or I'm trying to think of the exact verbiage that they have now, government favors or the handouts for shyster contracts. I mean, if you give me money, I'm going to give you a no-bid contract. Well, I'm sorry, it doesn't happen in South Dakota. It just doesn't. Where it boils down to is a rural fire department, a representative of the PTA or a third-grade elementary teacher could legally be fined and chastised and sued for addressing an educational issue with a government representative. It doesn't even have to be a state representative. As far as open and clean government, I like their recent attack ads coming back on the opposition to that measure, when in fact we still have yet to produce exactly who drafted this bill. I don't know who it was. Somebody very creative did. But initially, Jay, and again, just trying to reemphasize, and I can assure you I got tons of notes in here on this. The initial attempt to provide and promote open and clean government is overwhelmingly endorsed by the citizens of South Dakota. It's something that we all demand and we expect. But there is just way too much in there. The pay-to-play terminology, I guess, is coming out right now. And if we do have a problem with government in general in South Dakota, we're pretty fortunate that we can address it. But this is not the means to it. This would eliminate so many people's access to information or contact. And in the state of South Dakota, you can walk into the Capitol, which is the most historical, tingly feeling building that we have in South Dakota, and have your liberties and your freedoms be terminated on a door that you don't have access to visit with your neighbor, that individual that the day before you saw shopping at Safeway, because he's got his name badge on, or she has a name badge on, it's off limits that you can't speak or represent your students in your class. I think that's absurd. Now, yield develops my time. Maybe Fern would like to answer it.
There's no doubt in South Dakota we need some sunshine laws, just as you quickly mentioned. And after taking a look at Measure 10, I initially was gung-ho, was like, yes, we're going to have some sunshine laws, open government, open access to the public. However, after taking a stronger look at it, I agree with Mark. Other than that, though, I differ to a certain extent of contracts. I do believe, without stating factually, that there are contracts that are behind doors manufactured and completed by legislators and those contractors. You know, one thing we might want to emphasize maybe is enacting some legislation on the state agencies. And if any of you might recall, the real estate transaction that happened a few years ago with a state employee purchasing state land and the connections that they had between the two of them, you know, that has developed into criminal action. So in slight disagreement with Mark, I do think there are some closed door, behind the doors transactions being taken place in South Dakota, and open government, you know, access to that for the public. We have a right to know what's going on and where our money is being spent and what type of deals are going on. They are happening. We just haven't had the laws and the enforcement and the people to do the enforcement to make that so that doesn't happen.